Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today, we're going to go into the book of Song of Songs, the 4th chapter. And so back continuing the song, right, of Solomon, of this woman and her lover, okay, which representing Solomon and the Lord, but also symbolic of the Lord and his elect. All right, so this is the book of Song of Songs, the 4th chapter and the first verse. It says, "Behold, thou art fair, my love." Now, this is the in this chapter, right? It's mainly the lover, as in the man. All right, he is now here speaking and complimenting his spouse, okay, which is the woman, which the woman here would the Shulamite woman, as she is called, which is representative of Solomon, okay, but also symbolic of the elect. Okay, so here, really from this verse on down, likely up until but the last verse or so, right? It's mainly the man speaking to the woman here. So it says here, "Behold, thou art fair, my love. Behold, thou art fair. Thou hast dove's eyes." Fair is like beautiful. "Thou hast dove's eyes within thy locks. Thy hair is as a flock of goats that appear from Mount Gilead." Now, "thou art fair," right, means you're beautiful. And when you look at a dove, right, at least how it was perceived back then, it was a creature looked at as, calm. Salakia. So some synonyms of, or synonymous with, like, attributes of, being beautiful, calm, gentle, desirable. And so that's what he's likening the eyes of this woman to. And as he mentions here, "Within thy locks," all right, "thy hair is as a flock of goats." And when it says here that appears from Mount Gilead, if you look up, I type this in here, goats of Mount Gilead, that's actually a compliment, but initially, like, off the top, it may not sound like it. But when you look at those goats, like this is an example here, you can see some of these goats, if this loads. Okay. We'll just give that a second. But some of them have, especially like the mountain goats, they have actual, hair on them. They're not like the bare skin ones. So I wanted this one right here. There you go. So you can see this actually kind of looks like hair, like a woman's hair. And trying to see if I can find some other ones. Yeah, this is also another example. You can see the hair that's on them. And when they were in a flock, right, when you would look at them from afar, in a flock, just moving in a herd or moving together from a distance, with all of them with their hair on them, it would give a look like a like a flowy, rich, smooth hair, or that's just like when you're looking at them from afar. So here, when he likens her hair onto a flock of goats that appear from Mount Gilead, it is a compliment, all right, but it's one that would make more sense to somebody that was living at that time, because you would get the reference. But it's a very rich, in like very rich poetic way of complimenting her hair. "Thy teeth are like a flock of sheep that are even shorn, which came up from the washing. Every one bear twins, and none is barren among them." So the teeth being likened onto a flock of sheep, shorn, which came up from the washing, is saying that your teeth are white. Okay, your teeth are white. And the flock of sheep that are shorn, when they shear the sheep, they basically shave the hair off of it, and then they wash that, and then it becomes very clean and very white. So here he's likening her teeth onto being like that. And as it says, whereof every one bear twins. This is referring to the teeth. And when you say that every one of your teeth bear twins, you're basically saying that you have no missing teeth, right? And none is barren among them. So you're like, it's complementing the whiteness, but also the the flawlessness of it, right? They're all sort of in line, right? None of them are looking crooked. None of them, you're not missing any teeth anywhere, right? Which ultimately complements like the smile, right? So once again, it's very rich, deep poetry and similes and metaphors being used here in this love song. Thy lips are like a thread of scarlet, which is symbolizing, being precious, right? Your lips are like precious and delicate, like a thread of scarlet. And thy speech is calmly, speech being calmly, meaning that your speech is inviting, right? It's like, when you talk, it's inviting, right? It's welcoming. Thy temples, which the temples are referring to like the cheeks or like the side of the face, are like a piece of a pomegranate within thy locks. Now, the reason that is compared to a pomegranate is because of the pomegranate's like rosy or flush look. So describing like her cheeks or her face having that slightly reddish but nice look to it. So in the NLT it says your lips are like scarlet ribbon, your mouth is inviting, your cheeks are like rosy pomegranates behind your veil. Because when you go into that word locks, it goes into a veil. Thy neck is like the tower of David, builded for an armory, whereon there hang 1,000 bucklers, all shields of mighty men. This is also a compliment, but it makes more sense when you read it here in the NLT. Your neck is as beautiful as the Tower of David, jeweled with the shields of 1,000 heroes. Remember, once again, this is lyrics of a song, so it's going to use a lot of rich imagery in it. Thy two breasts are like two young roes or gazelles that are twins, which feed among the lilies. All right, so here the breasts being likened onto two young roes, right, symbolizing, because you look at the roes, he's using this to say like they're pleasant to look at, right, and they're twins, as in they're proportional, they are aesthetically pleasing, right, which feed among the lilies, and that right there is to sort of soften that sensual tone that in these lyrics, with like some nice gentleness, right? Because you think about them feeding amongst the lilies is more of like a nice, pleasant but gentle kind of sight when you imagine this. So from head to toe, he's basically describing, right, her beauty and how she has captivated him by her beauty. Verse 6, until the day break and until shadows flee away. So until the day break, meaning it's all throughout the night. The daybreak is when the sun starts to come up, right? And shadows flee away. That's when the light starts to come up, the light from the sun. I will get me to the mountain of myrrh and the hill of frankincense, right? Which is also likened to a pleasant place, right? A place for intimacy, with his spouse. Verse 7, thou art all fair, my love, there is no spot in thee, right? And that's, so here you'll see from like verse 7 down to about verse 15, it is the man is describing the beauty of this woman, right? And how she is desirable, and the love that he has for her, the desire that he has for her, which can be spiritually likened onto the actual love that the Lord has for his chosen, right? And how he sees them as it's a very strong love. So the imagery of using the love between a man and a woman, which is very relatable to a lot of people, is can be used to describe the love between the Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai and his chosen. Not in the sense of like, a man loving a woman in this intimate way, but how strong that love actually is. Really think about it, right? Look at how far a man is willing to go for a woman. And if you're not too sure, read First Ezra or First Esdras, the 3rd and 4th chapters. They go into that, right? When Zerubbabel was explaining why he said that women were the strongest, but above them was, I believe he said truth or wisdom. He gave very good examples as to how far men are willing to go for women. Why? Because of how strong their love between the two is. So it's a good example as to show how strong the love is between the Lord and his elect and his chosen. So here in this description of showing the captivating love, right, and how in the eyes of the man, how beautiful his woman is, that is how the Lord sees his elect, right? And what makes them beautiful is the truth, right? Is the spirit that is upon them that came by way of them hearing and pursuing after the truth, after the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that makes them appear beautiful, right, through Yahweh Shai to the Lord. So he says here, thou art fair, my love, there is no spot in thee, right? So you're like blameless, you're perfect. Verse 8, come with me from Lebanon, my spouse, with me from Lebanon. Look from the top of Amana, from the top of Shanir and Hermon, from the lions' dens, from the mountains of the leopards. Let's read that in the NLT. It says, come with me from Lebanon, my bride. Come with me from Lebanon, come down from Mount Amana, from the peaks of Senir and Hermon, where the lions have their dens, and leopards live among the hills. Thou hast ravished my heart, my sister, my spouse. Now, sister here is not talking about like your natural sister. It's just, a figure of speech here, but is referring to his spouse. And when you go to the word spouse, it's dealing with a woman. Okay. Kala. It says here, bride, daughter-in-law, bride, young wife. So this is from the perspective of the man. Remember in the previous chapters, he is likened onto, it's usually from the woman speaking, but this is from the man speaking, where the same man that the woman likens onto being the one whom her soul seeketh after, which is representative of the Lord. So this is how the Lord sees the woman, which can also be likened onto the elect or his bride. So reading this and reading the KJV, then the NLT says, thou hast ravished my heart, my sister, my spouse. Thou hast ravished my heart with one of thine eyes, with one chain of thy neck. It says here, you have captured my heart, my treasure, my bride. You hold it hostage with one glance of your eyes, with a single jewel of your neck. And once again, when you make the comparison here, it's not that the elect have the Lord captivated, and trapped, and he's head over heels over them, but it's symbolic. Okay, so it's not literal in that sense, but the effect of how far a man that is captivated by the love that he has for a woman, how far he's willing to go, is what's captured in here in connection to how strong the love is of the Lord to his bride or to his elect. Verse 10, it says here, how fair is thy love, my sister, my spouse. How much better is thy love than wine, and the smell of thine ointments than all spices. You see, and once again, going into that, right, your how great and beautiful you are, and your love is better than wine, and then it mentions here, right, the smell of thine ointments than all spices. So complimenting the, how beautiful and how well she smells, but that ointment is making her appear very appealing to him, right? And here you can also see that connection, because spiritually, if this woman is likened unto the Lord's elect, right? Even though Solomon, we know thematically she is likened unto him, right? Because when he writes that lyrics, that's sort of the position he puts himself in. But when you draw that connection and you liken her onto the elect, then that ointment can be likened onto this truth, right? Or this knowledge, which makes the elect appear appealing to the Lord, because it is, through the knowledge that the elect put off, obviously through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, but they put off the dirty appearance and are made clean because they're walking in this path, and it's making them appear pleasant and beautiful unto the Lord. Okay, desirable unto the Lord. Verse 11, thy lips, O my spouse, drop as the honeycomb. That word spouse is the same word in the Hebrew, right? Kala, which is dealing with a woman, your female spouse. Drop as the honeycomb. Honey and milk are under thy tongue, which honey and milk are also, synonymous with like pleasantry, right? So here he's saying here, like, you're under your tongue, as in like your words are pleasant, your speech is pleasant and satisfying, like honey and milk. And thy smell, and the smell of thy garments is like the smell of Lebanon, which is the scent, right? Your lips are as sweet as nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. Your clothes are scented like the cedars of Lebanon. A garden enclosed is my sister, my spouse. A spring shut up, a fountain sealed. So a garden, a spring, and a fountain, these things are all what? They're things that are valuable, right? So here he's likening her onto being like this onto something that's valuable and delightful, but also reserved for him. Because a garden is it's very useful, it's beautiful, and it has a lot of pleasantries in it, different kinds of trees and fruits and so on, but enclosed, meaning that it's not accessible to anybody else, right? My spouse, a spring, which is like a well, or a fountain here, shut up or sealed, so it's not accessible once again to anybody else. Verse 13, thy plants are like an orchard of pomegranates with pleasant fruits, camphor and spikenard. And that camphor goes into henna, right, which is a plant that's useful for many things, medicinal, decorative, and many other things. So here, right, remember in the verse above, she's likened onto this garden, but here it's also likening her onto a garden that's full of pleasantries, right? It's full of the orchard of pomegranate, these pomegranate trees, right, of these pleasant fruits, of this very resourceful and useful plant, right? And spikenard, which also goes into that, it's like a fragrance, a type of scent, right? And an odoriferous aromatic plant from India. So these are all, it's not literal, but when comparing somebody to this, you're basically complimenting them, right? Saying that they're very beautiful, but they're also very valuable to you. Verse 14, spikenard and saffron, all these are describing, different aromas, plants, fragrances, calamus and cinnamon, with all trees of frankincense, myrrh, aloes, with all chief spices, a fountain of gardens, a well of living waters, and streams from Lebanon. All right, this is all him describing her. Now you can also here liken those that well of living waters onto the knowledge, right, to the truth, where if the woman here is likened onto a well of living waters, and the woman can be representative of the elect, right, then the well of living waters can also symbolize the truth that comes forth of them, right? I believe the scripture said that Yahweh said that out of his belly shall flow rivers of living waters. Verse 16. So now in verse 16, this is now the response of the woman to the man. in the lyrics, right? So she says here, "Awake, O north wind, and come thou south, blow upon my garden." Right? Remember, she's likened onto that garden. So blow upon my garden, that the and so she's likening him onto this north wind and this south wind, and she's inviting him, right? She's inviting her lover to in other words, to come and be joined onto her in pleasantries, right? Which that's basically, when you look at it in the symbolic sense, that's basically desiring the Lord, to inviting the Lord to come and sup with you, right? To dwell with you. But in the context of the lyrics, it's more of an intimate sense of the woman inviting her lover into her garden, right? To enjoy her pleasantries. So it says here, "Blow upon my garden, that the spices thereof may flow out. Because remember, he described the calamus and the different, scents and chief spices. So if he's likened onto wind and he comes into that garden, he blows on her, then it causes those spices. It's metaphorical speech, right? But it causes the spices to flow out. It says here, let my beloved come into his garden." See, remember, it was a garden enclosed, but it was enclosed only for him. So he's the only one with access to it. "And eat his pleasant fruits." So once again, that's in context of the song, that's her inviting him to come and, be joined onto her and enjoy the pleasant things of her. Right? I read this in the NLT. Young woman, from the young woman's response, "Awake, north wind, rise up, south wind, blow upon my garden and spread its fragrance all around. Come into your garden, my love, taste its finest fruits." And that is the end of the book of Song of Songs, the 4th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak, Wadash. And until next time, Shalom.